If you grew up in the 90s, you lived through the shift from 2D games to 3D games. And at the time, that seemed massive. And that shift is on clear display, going from Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo to Mario Kart on the Nintendo 64. It felt like jumping from a simple racing game to a whole new world. Because on the N64, you were transported to this new 3D world. You had hills, caves, sky, verticality, NPCs. The whole thing just felt way more alive, like you could actually explore the world. And that's exactly what I did. There were many times where I just stopped racing and started exploring. Weird little corners, random paths, out-of-place item boxes, and little details that didn't make sense, but it felt a bit important and felt like they were worth exploring. And it's kind of weird because the main mechanic of the game is to come in first and win the race. Mario Kart 64 was also one of the best co-op experiences. Sitting on a couch with your friends, 4 people, whether you're playing racing or battle mode, it was just awesome. But it also was a world full of hidden little mysteries that still make me curious 25 years later. So let's go back and take another look to see what made this game unforgettable, and let's explore the strange little corners and unanswered questions that I still ask 25 plus years later.
Welcome to Mario Kart.
On the very first level of the game, Luigi's Raceway, there's this blimp with this floating box. Have you ever noticed this random item floating beneath the blimp? It's barely within reach, especially when you're in first, and even when you jump and you think you grab it, you always seem to miss, especially when you're in the lead. You actually have to physically wait here and stop and jump up and grab it, and usually it's just a blue shell. And I always wondered, is it worth it just to sit here and wait for this to grab a blue shell? Or was this the developers at Nintendo just showing off their new 3D engine and what you could potentially do? And I vividly remember this being one of the first moments that made me stop racing and start wondering, what else might be hidden in this game? By the time you hit Koopa Troopa Beach, it's one of those tracks that just kind of invites you to experiment on things. Whether you go left or right at certain turns, giving you multiple paths to complete the level or race around the track. Of course, everyone knows this big shortcut through the waterfall, and I truly think this is awesome game design because it gives you that risk-reward feeling. But there's more than just a waterfall on this level. There's this little piece of sand where the tides go in and out, creating a shortcut that saves you a little bit of time. And there's also this single item box on top of this high rock with this huge ramp leading up to it. Without an item like a mushroom, it feels nearly impossible to reach too. And I feel like this wasn't a mistake. This was definitely Nintendo experimenting with its vertical design, but I always ask myself the question, is it worth it to go up this ramp and grab this blue shell? Most of the time, if you didn't have a mushroom to grab this, I always feel like you just hit the rock and fall down. But how they laid this in the game as another risk reward, again, I think it's amazing. It just made me feel that this was an awesome time where developers were experimenting. I still wonder to this day, was there any value going for this blue shell? Because if you think about it, if you were in first place, what is that blue shell going to really do for you? But putting this rock here, this ramp, this mysterious item box here, it really just encouraged you to go exploring and try to find secrets within the game. The Kalimari Desert has one of the most unique level designs in all of the game, in my opinion. It's this wide open space where you can drive out into the distance and go anywhere until someone stops you and pulls you back in. But it definitely made you feel like you could go anywhere, even if there was an invisible wall you'd eventually hit. And what was even more interesting to me was the introduction of these train crossings. It felt huge back in the day, and something that you could either try to beat to try to get past it, or crash right into, trying to gamble and get lucky. But what really intrigued me about the train was the tracks they were on. The game allowed you to drive on these tracks, and I always thought that was kind of interesting. You know, if you follow the tracks around, it doesn't give you any competitive advantage or shortcut, but they chose to put it in the game. I remember playing this track single player back in the day, and thinking to myself, these tracks had to lead to somewhere. There must be some secret or shortcut here, right? But it doesn't. It just loops back to the course. And that empty stretch of rail and the 2 tunnels and the 2 trains going around, it really did stick with me. This detail was just added for a little bit of extra atmosphere and immersion. And this is one of those times where I just stopped, didn't really care about winning or the race at all, where I just started exploring. I find that so interesting. Didn't really care about coming in first, but wanted to find some hidden secret hidden within the game. Did anyone else do this? I'm really curious. Because for me, I spent a ton of time on this map trying to find something. I remember Sherbet Land being super unique because of the ice physics, the spinning carts, the penguins that just knock you back and spin you around, or when you fell in the water, how you got pulled out as this ice cube. I also remember the cave being a really interesting place in here, with just penguins running around in circles, and just felt like a little special spot. But one thing on this level that always intrigued me a ton was this single item box here on the right side of this rock. I always thought this was a special item box that would give you lightning, a blue shell, a star, some special item that could help you win the race. But it didn't. It was just your standard regular item box. And it's not like this is a hidden shortcut or anything like that, so why is it here? This is one of those random little corners that felt like it was supposed to be something here, but it wasn't. It's kind of pointless. But for some reason, this one's personal with me. And it gave me another reason just to play by myself and go explore every corner of the world, just in case you found something. I remember finding this for the first time and feeling like I was onto something, but it turns out it's just a regular item box that's just hidden in this particular corner of the map. Now, Royal Raceway might be the most memorable mystery in the game. Everyone remembers this massive jump over the lake, and the discovery is off to the right here that you can see over these hills. And waiting just beyond it is Peach's Castle, the same one from Super Mario 64. You can't go inside, nothing happens when you get here, but this path that you see for the first time is so inviting, it almost leads you and wants you to drive down it. Some people even remember maybe thinking this was the actual path that you had to go in the actual race. No matter how you found it, driving up to it for the first time felt huge. It felt like a massive Easter egg, and it made me feel like there had to be some massive secret hiding here, down this corner. Why else would the devs put it in the game? But there's no real big secret here. It's just a dumbed down version of the castle. But that never stopped me from trying to get into these doors, trying to get down into the basement, trying to look for the cannon, trying to jump up onto the roof. I still wonder, this feels like such a massive thing to put in the game, and I always think to myself, developers must have been tight on space and they had to be efficient. Why did they put this in here? Part of me thinks that they put it in here just so they could have this end winning screen when you win one of the cups. But again, it seems like they could have easily done that in another way. So why is this here? Did you explore the castle like I did back in the day? This one still has me thinking about it decades later. So Bowser's Castle is an extremely detailed map. There's tons of things here, from this fire-breathing Bowser, from the paintings, from the rooms, from the lava. It's such an awesome level, and I think it's so well designed. But one thing that I always questioned here was this green thwomp locked behind bars. He's just watching you, and when you bump into the bars by accident, he laughs, makes a noise, and does this weird facial expression. I grew up hearing rumors about this where you could unlock him somehow and maybe knock someone off the map with him, but the truth is that was just a playground rumor. These are just rumors that I heard locally, but it sounds like this is a pretty universal experience for players across the world. Players eventually even gave him a name, Marty. Years later, the developers would even use his laugh in other Mario Kart games, and I think that's a little bit of the nod to the myth itself. There's a ton of awesome creepypasta out there about Marty, so definitely go check that out. I went down that rabbit hole when I was making this video. But that's what I love about this era. These little mysteries, maybe just little details they put in games that didn't intend to be anything, but became something huge with the imagination of kids playing the games. I always remember DK Parkway being one of the funner levels in the game. But one of my favorite little details in this game is this boat that was cruising through the river. I always wondered why I was in the game, and I thought there might be a secret here, so I'd always try to make jumps to land on it. I'd always try to board the boat. I'd try to crash into it in random ways. But this was another one of my dead ends. I don't know really what I was thinking I was going to find. Maybe it would teleport me to first place or something like that. I don't know. It's just a simple little detail that's probably put into the game to give the game more atmosphere, but it's one of those details that really made you explore a little bit more. It's another subtle reminder that there's always something happening outside of the race itself within the game. Yoshi's Valley has to be one of the hardest tracks in the game. I still think about the crazy map design and all the falls I took on this level. I'm certain there's an optimal path out there for this map, but I still get tripped up playing this track to this day. But one thing I was always curious about is this massive Yoshi egg at the tail end of the race. Why is it there? I heard rumors that it could hatch, it could drop items, it could bounce you up to the finish line, but I looked into it and it's just a simple obstacle at the end of the race where it could squish you if you went underneath it. It's very on par with the randomness of this map for sure, but these little details that they put into the game like this, they just add to these amazing memories that I had. I still wonder if there's a way to hatch that egg or if the developers had bigger plans for it. So back in the day, all the Mario ghost houses, they were always hiding something. So I was convinced that the ghost house in Banshee Boardwalk had to have some secret hidden within it. Especially when you got to the house in the level, I first saw this fireplace, I saw these arrows. I figured there had to be something in this house. I tried everything. Shells, stars, jumping around, bouncing through walls, but there's really nothing. But that feeling that something special or something should be in here perfectly captures why I think this game is special. It's one of those mysteries that I've investigated at length, but I've never found anything. Sadly, it doesn't seem like there's any secret in this level. But I'm really convinced that the developers wanted to put something in here. Looking back, Mario Kart 64 is way more than just a racing game. It provided me countless memories and hours of couch co-op fun. Seriously, I've both made and lost friends because of this game. And it really encouraged me to just stop playing the game and start exploring. It was one of the first times I remember this ever happening in a game, where you just ignore the standard game mechanic and just go off on your own and start taking a look around. That curiosity could just be part of the fun. Those little details, those unreachable boxes, those dead ends, those things that didn't make sense, they made these 3D worlds feel way more alive. And 25 years later, the feeling doesn't fade. When I'm playing it, I still hit the brakes and just go off and explore things. I'm kind of happy I don't have all the answers to these questions and I'm still asking them all these years later. Because sometimes the best mysteries, they just kind of go unanswered. And if you went off the beaten path in Mario 64, you probably had a hidden save of your own. This was mine. This is Hidden Saves, a channel about unlocking old memories and figuring out why some games just stuck with us. If this one unlocks something for you, feel free to hit subscribe or drop a comment, and let me know what forgotten memory we should dig up next. Catch you in the next one.